Today we're going to talk about the acoustic guitar trick. Okay, it's not just for acoustic guitars, it's about doubling inputs. But here we go. All right, so today we're going to talk about the situation where you have one instrument on stage. In my case, it's acoustic guitar. And I want to have it sound like more than just one instrument. So I'm going to double it in my console, and I can pan those, and then I can EQ them and even compress them differently to get a different sound. Now, you might want to do this on multiple inputs. It's really up to you what you do it on, but the technique is going to be the same. So first we're going to start out to jump into the console and look at how we physically do it. And then we're going to dive into the DAW and hear about what it sounds like. What are the changes that you can get with this setup? So let's jump into those now. So as we take a look at the board here, what we've got is acoustic guitars are on channels 9 and 10 for me. They're right here. And if I zoom in, you can see that channel 9 actually says C10 in it, and channel 10 just has a C. Now, if you are connected to AES50, then it would say A10, and then the other one would say A. If you are connected to just local inputs, whatever the case is, it says C for me because I'm connected to my USB card in this scenario right now. So you can see, though, that the input is coming in on channel 10, but then it's been duplicated over to channel 9. So let's take a look in the routing section and see how that all works. All right, so here we are at the screen, and the first thing I've done is I've selected channel 10. Channel 10 is where our input comes in, and this is going to be set up just like normal. So here on the config tab, I go and I select channel 10 as my input. Now if we back up to channel 9 is the one that I'm duplicating onto. And so here you can see on the config tab, we're on channel 9, but the input source is in fact channel 10. So I've changed this. I went from, this is what it looked like, was 9, and then here I have changed it to 10. And this way we have one input from one guitar on one XLR cable, but it's duplicated into two different channels. The next thing, if we go back to the home screen, we can note the trim or the gain, and this is going to be consistent between each of them because you only get one input gain. Your gain knob in the top left of your console controls one preamp no matter how many channels it's being the source for, or no matter how many channels it's feeding. So here I'm on channel 9. You can see that I have a 1.5 dB gain boost, and here on channel 10 it is in fact the same thing as well. Now the whole benefit to this is getting the ability to have different EQ and compression settings to start out with. So if we look at the EQ here, this is my channel 10. This is my right channel for acoustic guitar. And then if I look at my left here, that's my left. So you'll notice that I've got a boost here at 4K on the left side, where on the right side I'm removing it. Most of the EQ looks the same. That's the one difference that I'm making in this scenario. If I look at the compression, we'll see this is channel 10 here, and we'll just quickly look at channel 9. They actually look the same in this scenario. So I'm actually not even using different compression techniques here. I'm just doing different EQ. Now the other thing, though, that is different that we've talked about in the DAW is if I come back over to the config tab, you'll see that my left channel here, look at the delay. It is not activated, but channel 10, my right channel, does in fact have a 14 millisecond delay turned on. So you could quickly turn it off by just deactivating the delay, or by clicking this it will in fact turn on. The other thing we have to keep in mind here is that we do have a pan, hard left and hard right. So if I look back at this screen, This is my right channel, and you can see I am panned 100% to the right. Channel 9, which is my left channel, is 100% to the left. The panning gives us a very wide stereo image. The delay offsets one side for making it sound like two different guitars, and then the EQ will in fact accentuate those frequencies on one side over the other. All right, so we're going to dive right in here to the DAW. What we've got to start out with is just some basic multi-tracks here of the entire group. As you can see on the top left, we've got the kick, snare, we've got drums and guitars and so on and so forth. We've got a couple extra tracks because this is just a template that I bring up real quick. I hit record so that I get everything on my Sunday morning. You can even see down here I do have my main left and right that I record, as well as my stream left and right that I'm recording. I'm able to do that because I'm not taking up all 32 tracks on the board. So I've got a couple additional tracks, and so I can just route my mains and my stream just to have some reference points for when I'm mixing things down later or doing any practice or listen back, whatever the case may be. So what I want to do today is we're going to focus on the acoustic guitar. I have colored that orange, and before we get started, I'm going to do a little bit of setup just to clean this look up to make it a lot easier to look at. And we're going to use acoustic guitar and some pads for our example. So give me just a second here. All right, so what we've got now is just one acoustic guitar and some pads. So if we listen to this, we'll start with just the acoustic guitar here, and then we'll add the pads in and just get a basic feel for what one acoustic guitar with the pads sounds like. Now this acoustic guitar, let's see here. I'm going to turn the EQ off, and this is just the raw acoustic guitar coming into the board. Add some pads in. All right, so it's a basic acoustic guitar. Now what I did is I went in and did a quick little EQ on this just to take out a little bit of the low end rumble, some of the mud, and then added a little bit of strumming presence at the top end. So if we go back and we listen to the same thing again, this is starting out with just the EQ, and then we'll add the pads back in. So this is without. This is with. Here's the pads. All right, so pretty basic setup. Now what I want to do is I'm going to use this EQ, and we're going to do some things here. So first what I want to do is make this so that we can do a quick A to B comparison between one acoustic guitar and the two acoustic guitar setup. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this track with events. There we go, 1 and 2. So what I'm going to do down here, just for our sake of example, is make this an acoustic guitar left, an acoustic guitar right, and let's color these guys to be the same orange color. There we go. So we've got dark orange. Let's make these different. Let's make these purple. So the purple is going to be our stereo. So what I'm going to quickly do here is pan hard left and pan hard right. And I'm going to make a bus for this just so that we can easily flip it on and off. Okay. Now the volume, because we have doubled the guitar, the volume is going to be twice as loud. So for reference point, I'm just going to bring this down some and try and match the levels. So I'm just going to play this, and I'm going to go between the single guitar and the double guitar. So this did copy the EQ over, But keep in mind that even though these are panned hard left and hard right, because it has no different sound on the stereo group versus the single group, it shouldn't sound much different. So let me hit play here. I'm going to keep the pads off, and we'll just listen to the guitar here. It's actually a little quieter. And back. Okay, so as expected, that right there sounds pretty much the same. We've just doubled the guitar, but because we turned the volume down, we now have the same sound. Okay, so what I want to do now is show you how I set this up with our different EQ, and I guess I got to bring my tracks back. And we're going to put in a slight bit of different EQing. And the trick with this is whatever you want one to be your bright and one to be your dark is the easy way of saying it. But we want to take the frequency that we're accentuating on one guitar and not accentuated on the other guitar. The Recording Revolution talks about this. Graham Cochran talks about this trick, and it's very effective. So what we're going to do is take the frequency here, and this one is kind of muddiness. We're going to leave that one alone. That one was minus 2 dB. We're going to leave that one alone because those are removing somewhat bad frequencies of the guitar. But up here, you can see we have accentuated by almost 7 dB at the top end. And so what I'm going to do is just turn this down to 0 on my second guitar. And then you can see that I have removed a frequency here by 2, and I'm going to raise that by 2. So we've kind of flipped the EQ pattern. And if we just listen to that real quick, I will, let's see, solo this one first, and then we'll go to the other one. This is going to sound like it's, well, let me put these in the middle here. Here we go. So we're going to go like this. So this is the brighter one. This is the darker one. So where this starts to become effective is when we do the panning hard left and hard right, and we put both of them together at the same time. Now we're going to start to hear a slightly different sound in our left ear than we do in our right ear. So it's quite jarring when you go from left to right, but trust me that you're hearing the brighter one here on the left and the slightly darker one on the right. Now what we want to do is take the darker one, the one that is our altered sound, and we want to delay that one by 14 milliseconds. So in this DAW, I can select the track, go up to my inspector, and then I've got a delay feature up here, and I can just hit 14 milliseconds, and now it's going to delay it. So I'm actually going to start out at 0, no delay, and while it's playing, I want you to hear when I add that millisecond delay in, it's really going to make it sound like it's 2 guitars then. So here's playing. Back to the center. All right, so you hear that thing open up really, really nice and become a really stereo panned guitar sound. So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to take one guitar that comes into the console. We can duplicate it on channels, 2 different channels. We can adjust our EQing slightly. All right, so here's a little science lesson for you. And let me see if, all right. So what we have here is a quick display of the fact that when you have guitar 1 that is in time over here, and you then put the same signal delayed, your ear will take anything that is 20 milliseconds of the same thing within 20 milliseconds, and it will get rid of it, and it will kind of turn it off to not hear it. Now, you still hear it, especially when it's in a strong panned scenario, but the way this works is if you are close to a person and they're talking and then you're near a wall, you're going to hear the reflection off of the wall. Well, the brain will cut out the reflection and keep the initial source over here, and it will get rid of the one, in this case, our Acoustic Guitar 2, that is delayed up to 20 milliseconds. When you start to get to 21, 22, 25 milliseconds and above, it will actually hear both sounds and keep both. But under 20 milliseconds, it kind of becomes this thing that it will disregard, and it will keep this initial Acoustic Guitar 1 sound. So what we can do is trick our brain by using volume. If we turn, let's see here, if we turn this one down by -2 dB, this board is weird to use. If we turn it down by -2 dB, then we will actually the volume difference will help the brain capture the this Acoustic Guitar 2. So let's go over and take a look at that now. All right, so here we are, and what we're going to do is just listen to it, and then we're going to turn the right one up. See how I'm at -2 dB? I'm going to turn the right one up to 0, and we're going to see how that sounds. Let's listen to it. It brings it back into the center. If I remove the 2 dB, it's weighted more to the left. So you've got these options that you can work with to kind of generically pan the signal. Now, obviously, you could adjust panning just by your pan knob, whatever yours looks like. But knowing that you can adjust the volume to help center or pan the signal left or right, then you've got an extra tool in your tool bag that you can use there. So what I want to do now is listen to the mono signal, and we're going to put it on with the pads, and then we're going to flip-flop over to the stereo group and listen to it with the pads and see what we get. So here's the mono signal. So again, this is just a quick trick that I use to be able to thicken up my acoustic guitar a little bit and add some depth and width into the mix by just using one guitar but duplicating it into the board. One of the things to keep in mind is that obviously this is just the same input source, so the same strumming pattern, the same inflections that the guitarist is doing is going to be duplicated. So if you don't like your guitar sound, then you're just duplicating something you don't like. Let's try and work on the actual guitar or the strumming or the instrumentalist and help guide them into playing better or getting a good signal to come into your desk. And then when you duplicate it, you've got some great material to work with. This trick might just help you take your 3, 4, or 5-piece band and really add some additional character to it.
All right, so it's a pretty cool technique that we can get where you can double and then use a delay on one side. Couple things to make sure of. If you do this on your console and you have people running in-ear monitors, that are a mono scenario. That's how my church is. They've got one signal that goes in, it's mono, and then it just gets doubled into their both ears. Make sure that you only use the initial instrument. So for me, it's going to be the acoustic guitar left channel. For you guys, left channel. It's the acoustic guitar left channel is going to be used in their in-ears. When it's a mono signal, you don't want to double that signal with a delay because it's just going to add muddiness. Okay? In their in-ears, they're just going to hear them both down the center, but one's going to be delayed a little bit by 14 milliseconds, and that's not going to do any good for them to catch tempo from the acoustic guitar. So we only want to use in in-ears the initial thing, any monitoring scenario effectively. But some people get around this by setting in their room, if you've got a mono PA, you can set the one going into your room. The second one, you can turn off the stereo bus icon or button so it's not orange. That means that the second one is not going into your room in your mono PA. And so your main signal is panned however it's just going to be straight down the middle effectively in a mono PA. But then in the stream, in your sends, you can pan those hard left and hard right just for your stream. So a couple of different scenarios there and some things to think about. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for checking it out. Hey, give it a thumbs up. And what are some other tricks that you've got that you do to get some stereo width in your mix? I'd love to hear about those in the comments below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.